Hi guys, and welcome back to my cooking channel, Katie Cooks Easy Recipes, and today I've got a great one for you. It's my dump and go crock pot peri peri chicken pasta. It's absolutely delicious. The chicken just melts in your mouth. It's a little bit spicy, lovely and rich and creamy, and I'm going to show you just how easy it is to make. But before we get started on this great recipe, at the end of it, don't forget to like, share and subscribe if you enjoyed this recipe, where you'll find loads more recipes on my channel. But for now, let's get back to the recipe, and these are the ingredients we're going to need. Of course, as always, there's a full list in the caption. But you're going to need a couple of large chicken breasts, some homemade peri peri seasoning. You can buy already shop bought, that's fine, but I'll show you how easy it is to make yourself. We're going to need some bell peppers, some garlic cloves, an onion, some chopped or tinned tomatoes. They're all going to break down. I've got plum ones here, but they're going to break down anyway. Some good quality stock. And of course we're going to need some dried short pasta. I've picked fusilli, but of course you can use anything like pen, whatever you prefer. And then we're going to also need some double cream. So this is how you make a homemade peri peri spice rub. It's really easy. For this amount I'm going to need 1 tablespoon of chili powder. I'm using mild, but you can use hot if you like it extra spicy. Then I'm doing 1.5 teaspoons of dried oregano. Then we're going to need some onion granules or ground onion. I'm going to go in with 1 teaspoon. Next up is lovely smoked paprika. I'm going to go in with 1 teaspoon. And lastly, we're going to need a good crack of salt. And then once you've added your salt in there, just give it all a mix round, and then you'll have this lovely homemade peri peri spice rub, which is lovely on chicken if you're going to have chicken salad. It's really nice on salmon, and you probably pay £2 or £3 for this pre-mixed in the shop, so I like to home make it. Next up, we just got a tiny little bit more prep to do, so we are going to cut some onions. So as you can see, I've peeled it and cut it one way. Now I'm carefully going in lengthways, not being sure not to go all the way through. And so now we've got basically a grid, and we're just going to slice into our onion, and that gives us a lovely diced onion. I'll do the next half slightly quicker so you can see what I did. So we're cutting in, being careful not to go right the way through that end root part. Mind your fingers, you get them nice and tucked in. Turn it round, carefully slice lengthways, and then you just cut along, and that is how you dice an onion. You can dice it finer than this, but for this recipe, this is all we need to do. Next up are our bell peppers. So I'm just going to use a big red one here, and there's lots of different ways you can prep a bell pepper. I like to do it this way, where you carefully slice alongside, and you cut away the core, and all you're left with is the flesh. And what you don't want with your bell pepper is that white core part. You don't want any of that really in the part that you're going to use, because that can be quite bitter and not actually taste very nice at all. So I've cut the edges off, and then all we're left with there is just literally the core and the stalk. And this is how I like to dice my peppers. So I grab one of the sides that I've cut off, and then I slice them into like julienne pieces, and then as simple as that, I turn them round to the side and then just cut again until they're all diced and lovely. You don't have to be too precious with your dicing, because this is all going in the slow cooker. Once you've got your veggies prepped, that's it. We're just going to dump everything in. So we've got our chopped onion and chopped pepper. Then I'm going to squeeze in those lovely garlic cloves. You want 2 big fat garlic cloves really. You want to get that lovely flavour through. In goes our lovely homemade peri peri seasoning. That is just going to be absolutely delicious. It smells gorgeous already. Then you're going to go in 1 tin or 1 can of chopped tomatoes. Obviously I'm using peeled plum tomatoes here. As I said earlier, they're going to break down as they slow cook in our crock pot anyway, so it really doesn't make any difference. And then in with our stock, which I've actually put into the tomato tin just to get rid of any extra tomato that's stuck to the sides. Give it all a stir around, and then we're going to go in with our big fat chicken breasts. So just get them nestled in with our lovely sauce base, and then we're going to add some salt over the top, because obviously we've added these chicken here, even though they're going to cook in all these sauces and soak up all the flavours, so you don't need to worry about seasoning too much. We will need to add a little bit more salt. And then give it a stir around, make sure that they're fully submerged, and then we're just going to pop the lid on and leave it on high for 4 hours. If you're cooking on low, 7 hours. And then you're going to end up with something that looks like this. So our sauce is all broken down, it's really delicious. We're going to remove those really tender chicken breasts now. And what I like to do is put a stick blender into the sauce, being very careful in case it splashes because obviously it's really hot. And then just give that a mix round, because I like the sauce for this recipe to be lovely and smooth. You can serve it chunky, it's not the end of the world, but I find that this thickens up the sauce, and obviously you don't end up with any big lumps. The flavour is just the same. So blitz that up until you end up with something that with a consistency that looks like this. Back to our chicken, and as you can see, it's cooked absolutely beautifully. It's really still lovely and juicy, and we're just going to now use a couple of forks and just shred that now, so we've got this lovely pulled chicken consistency. Once we've done that, we're going to put it back into the sauce, and even just as it is, it actually makes a really delicious, like taco filling, anything like that. But we want to turn this into a pasta for a little bit of a twist. Before you put your chicken back in, now that you know it's cooked very properly, you can have a little taste of your sauce that you've got there, and just add any additional seasoning you might need. I'm adding a little bit more salt, and I'm actually going to go in with a lovely squeeze of lime, about the juice of half a lime. That will just freshen everything up and give it a really light taste. And now we're ready, we're happy with our sauce flavour, so I'm just going to carefully put that shredded pulled chicken back in. As I said before, this, once you stir it all around, makes the most. You could just eat it as it is. It's stunning with like a bowl of rice, or thicken it up slightly and have it as like a lovely taco filling or burrito filling. It really is delicious. All that's left to do now is add our pasta, and because this is a dump and go, I'm actually putting the pasta in dry. Of course, you can cook it separately and add it in, that's no problem, but I find when you cook pasta in your slow cooker, although it takes longer, the pasta cooks in the delicious sauce and it soaks in all that lovely flavour and just makes the pasta taste a bit better. So put the pasta in, and then you just want to top it up a little bit with some water so that all the pasta is submerged. And then you cook that on high for around about 40 minutes until the pasta is cooked and lovely and tender. After 45 minutes, you're going to end up with this. A lovely, smoky, slightly spicy pulled chicken pasta, which is great on its own, but we want to add a little bit of substance to this and really get it feeling luxury. So I've added in some double cream here. It's only about 100 mils. Give it all a stir around, and that is just going to add another level of flavour and make this pasta dish creamy and unctuous and just so moorish. You can't tell me that after a long day at work you get home and this is waiting for you. Look how delicious that is. We're going to throw in a little bit of chopped coriander. I know it's pasta and you presume basil, but basil really doesn't work with these flavours. So trust me on that one, and add in some lovely, zesty, refreshing chopped coriander. It's really good, and it finishes the dish off great. And now it's almost eating time, and as always I show you how I dish up. I've got no idea why, I just feel like this finishes the video off lovely. So a couple of great big scoops of this delicious cooked pulled chicken peri peri pasta. The crock pot has done probably 85% of the hard work, with a little tiny bit of manual labour ourselves. Sprinkle over a little bit more of that chopped coriander, and then grab a fork and dive in. And don't forget guys, if you enjoyed this crock pot recipe, I've got plenty more on my channel. Please like, share and subscribe so I can keep doing this.